Solutions to National Bankruptcy, a comprehensive report. Introduction. National bankruptcy is a severe economic condition characterized by a country's inability to fulfill its debt obligations. This situation can arise from various factors including economic mismanagement, external shocks, or prolonged periods of fiscal imbalance. The implications of national bankruptcy can be dire, leading to loss of investor confidence, reduced access to financial markets, and diminished living standards for citizens. However, there are several potential solutions available, primarily drawn from established bankruptcy frameworks, particularly the U.S. legal system. This report outlines the various approaches to managing national bankruptcy, focusing on reorganization, liquidation, and legal frameworks that can facilitate recovery. 1. Understanding national bankruptcy. National bankruptcy occurs when a government cannot meet its debt repayment obligations. This can manifest in various ways, such as defaults on bonds, failure to pay public sector salaries, or inability to fund essential services. The consequences of national bankruptcy are multifaceted, impacting economic stability, social order, and international relations. As governments operate within a complex web of legal frameworks and economic policies, the solutions to bankruptcy must be tailored to address the unique circumstances of each nation. 2. Overview of bankruptcy processes. Bankruptcy processes typically provide a structured way for entities to address insolvency. In the context of nations, these processes can be likened to the various chapters of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, which delineates how individuals and businesses can reorganize their debts or liquidate assets. Chapter 7: Liquidation. This chapter involves selling off the debtor's non-exempt assets to pay creditors. For nations, this could mean liquidating state-owned enterprises or selling government assets. Chapter 11: Reorganization. This allows businesses to restructure debts while continuing operations. Similarly, countries can seek to negotiate new terms with creditors, extend payment periods, or reduce the total debt owed, often through international mediation or intervention. Chapter 13: Adjustment of debts for individuals. This chapter enables individuals with regular income to propose a repayment plan. Countries can implement austerity measures or fiscal reforms to restore financial stability gradually. Chapter 9: Municipality bankruptcy. Although primarily designed for municipalities, countries can adopt similar frameworks to reorganize local government debts, ensuring essential services remain operational. 3. Key solutions to national bankruptcy. 3.1 Debt restructuring. One of the primary solutions to national bankruptcy is debt restructuring. This involves negotiating with creditors to modify the terms of existing debt. Restructuring can take several forms. Debt swaps. Countries may exchange old debt for new bonds with longer maturities or lower interest rates. Haircuts. This entails reducing the total amount owed by the debtor, effectively forgiving a portion of the debt. Debt extensions. Negotiating to extend the repayment period can provide immediate relief and improve cash flow. Successful debt restructuring often requires the involvement of international financial institutions such as the International Monetary Fund (IMF), which can facilitate negotiations and provide financial assistance. 3.2 Austerity measures. Governments facing bankruptcy may resort to austerity measures to regain fiscal control. These measures can include cutting public spending, reducing expenditures on public services, salaries, and welfare programs to decrease budget deficits, increasing taxes, implementing higher taxes, or introducing new tax measures to enhance revenue. While austerity measures can stabilize finances in the short term, they can also provoke social unrest and economic contraction, making their implementation politically sensitive. 3.3 International assistance. In many cases, countries experiencing bankruptcy may require external assistance to stabilize their economies. This can come in the form of loans from international financial institutions. organizations like the IMF or World Bank can provide financial aid, often coupled with conditions for economic reform. Bilateral assistance. Wealthier countries may offer direct financial support or facilitate bilateral agreements to help stabilize a struggling economy. International assistance can provide critical temporary relief, but it may also come with stringent conditions that necessitate painful reforms. 3.4 Legal frameworks and institutional reforms. Establishing a clear legal framework for dealing with national bankruptcy is crucial. This can involve creating bankruptcy laws. Just as individuals and businesses operate under bankruptcy laws, nations can benefit from a structured legal framework that outlines procedures for addressing insolvency. Strengthening institutions. Enhancing the capacity and transparency of financial institutions can aid in better fiscal management. Reducing the likelihood of future bankruptcies. Countries can look to existing models such as the U.S. Bankruptcy Code to guide the development of these frameworks. 3.5 Promoting economic growth and stability. Long-term solutions to national bankruptcy must focus on fostering sustainable economic growth. This can include investing in infrastructure. Improving infrastructure can enhance productivity and attract foreign investment. Encouraging entrepreneurship. Supporting small and medium enterprises (SMEs) can stimulate job creation and economic dynamism. Enhancing trade relations. Expanding trade agreements can open new markets and sources of revenue. 4. Lessons from historical cases. Several countries have faced bankruptcy and implemented various strategies to recover. Notably, Argentina. Faced with a severe debt crisis in the early 2000s, Argentina underwent significant debt restructuring, resulting in substantial haircuts for creditors. The government also implemented austerity measures and sought assistance from the IMF. Greece. During the European sovereign debt crisis, Greece received multiple bailout packages from the EU and IMF, accompanied by stringent austerity measures and economic reforms that spurred significant social unrest. These examples illustrate the complexities and challenges nations face when addressing bankruptcy and the importance of balancing immediate relief with long-term economic strategies. Conclusion. Addressing national bankruptcy requires a multifaceted approach that combines debt restructuring, legal frameworks, and efforts to promote economic growth. Countries facing insolvency must navigate complex negotiations with creditors and consider the social implications of austerity measures. Learning from historical precedents and adapting successful strategies from established bankruptcy models can provide valuable insights into managing national financial crises. Ultimately, the goal is to restore financial stability, regain investor confidence, and ensure a sustainable economic future for citizens. Counterintuitive information in the content on solutions to national bankruptcy. 1. Bankruptcy as a fresh start. A fundamental tenet of bankruptcy law is the idea of providing a fresh start for debtors. This might seem counterintuitive, as one might assume that declaring bankruptcy signifies failure. However, the legal framework is designed to give individuals and businesses a chance to reset financially, which can promote long-term financial stability and economic recovery. This perspective shifts the narrative from one of failure to one of opportunity. 2. Municipalities in bankruptcy. While many people associate bankruptcy with individuals or corporations, the concept also applies to municipalities through Chapter 9. The idea that a city or town can file for bankruptcy might be surprising, as it challenges the perception of local governments as stable entities. This provision acknowledges that municipalities can face severe financial distress and need the same tools for reorganization that individuals and businesses have. 3. Reorganization versus liquidation. The distinction between Chapter 7 liquidation and Chapter 11 reorganization can be counterintuitive. Many may think that bankruptcy always leads to the dissolution of the entity involved. However, Chapter 11 allows businesses to restructure and continue operations, which can be a more favorable outcome than liquidation. This suggests that bankruptcy can be a tool for recovery rather than just a path to closure. 4. The role of the bankruptcy judge. The limited direct involvement of bankruptcy judges in many cases may seem counterintuitive. One might expect a judge to be heavily involved in every aspect of a bankruptcy case. However, much of the process is administrative and handled by appointed trustees, which allows for a more efficient handling of cases without overwhelming the court system. This structure emphasizes the efficiency of the bankruptcy process over the traditional judicial involvement. 5. Asset retention. In Chapter 13, many individuals may believe that filing for bankruptcy means losing all their assets. However, under Chapter 13, debtors can retain significant assets while proposing a repayment plan. This approach challenges the notion that bankruptcy equates to total asset liquidation and instead focuses on managing debt while maintaining ownership of property. 6. Cross-border insolvency. The existence of Chapter 15, which facilitates cross-border insolvency cases, may be unexpected for those who view bankruptcy as a strictly national issue. This provision acknowledges the global nature of finance and the need for an integrated approach to insolvency that can accommodate international creditors and debtors. 7. Bankruptcy for farmers and fishermen. The specific provisions for family farmers and fishermen under Chapter 12 may seem surprising. The existence of a tailored bankruptcy solution for these sectors highlights the unique challenges they face and counters the more general perception that bankruptcy is solely for traditional businesses or individual consumers. 8. Long-term financial consequences. While bankruptcy provides immediate relief, it also has long-term consequences that may not be immediately apparent. The notion that bankruptcy can negatively impact credit scores for years might lead some to avoid filing, even when it may be the most prudent financial decision. This paradox reveals the complexity of making financial decisions in the face of potential long-term repercussions. 9. Trustees' role in the process. The significant role of trustees in bankruptcy proceedings can be counterintuitive. Many individuals may not realize that a trustee acts as an intermediary who oversees the process, manages assets, and ensures compliance with bankruptcy laws. This role can sometimes lead to a perception of the bankruptcy process as more bureaucratic than personal, highlighting a layer of complexity that is often overlooked. 10. Debtor protections during bankruptcy. The automatic stay that occurs upon filing for bankruptcy, which halts all creditor actions, might be unexpected for those unfamiliar with the process. This protection underscores the legal system's recognition of the need for debtors to stabilize their situation without the immediate pressure from creditors, contrasting with common beliefs that bankruptcy equates to unrelenting creditor pursuit. These counterintuitive elements illustrate the complexities and nuances of national bankruptcy solutions, emphasizing that bankruptcy can serve as a mechanism for recovery and restructuring rather than merely a sign of financial failure. In analyzing the report on solutions to national bankruptcy, several important points emerge that are often overlooked or underappreciated. These aspects hold significant implications for understanding and addressing national financial crises. 1. The role of bankruptcy as a fresh start. One of the core tenets of bankruptcy law is the concept of providing a fresh start for debtors. This idea is not merely a legal formality, it represents a fundamental shift in how society views financial failure. Many people overlook the societal implications of this approach. The Fresh Start principle acknowledges that individuals and entities can encounter financial difficulties due to various circumstances, including economic downturns, unforeseen expenses, or mismanagement. This perspective is crucial because it promotes resilience and innovation within the economy. By allowing for a reset, it encourages individuals and businesses to take risks knowing that they have a safety net in place. Economically, this can lead to a more dynamic environment where entrepreneurship thrives, contributing to overall economic growth. 2. The specificity of bankruptcy chapters. While many individuals are aware of the existence of different bankruptcy chapters, the nuances of each chapter often go unnoticed. For example, Chapter 9 municipal bankruptcy is specifically designed for municipalities and allows them to reorganize debt while maintaining essential services. This is particularly significant in times of economic distress when cities or towns may face crippling debts that threaten public services. Understanding the specific applications of each chapter is essential for policymakers. During national financial crises, tailored solutions that address the unique needs of municipalities, businesses, or individuals can lead to more effective recovery strategies. For instance, the ability of municipalities to file under Chapter 9 can be a lifeline, allowing local governments to restructure their debts without resorting to drastic measures like cutting essential services or raising taxes excessively. 3. Importance of legal framework and procedures. The report emphasizes the procedural aspects of bankruptcy, which are often viewed as dry legal minutiae. However, these procedures are critical for ensuring fairness and transparency. For instance, the requirement for a 341 meeting of creditors allows for a forum where creditors can question debtors, promoting accountability. This process fosters trust in the bankruptcy system, which is vital for its acceptance and effectiveness. Moreover, the existence of a structured legal framework provides clarity and predictability for all parties involved. In times of national crisis where economic uncertainty can lead to panic and irrational decision-making, having a clear set of procedures helps stabilize the situation. Stakeholders can understand their rights and obligations, which can mitigate fears and promote more measured responses. 4. The role of bankruptcy judges and trustees. The significance of the roles played by bankruptcy judges and trustees often goes unrecognized. These officials not only oversee the bankruptcy process but also ensure that it is conducted fairly and in accordance with the law. Their decisions can have far-reaching implications for debtors and creditors alike. For instance, a bankruptcy judge's ruling can determine the viability of a reorganization plan under Chapter 11. This power makes them critical players in the recovery of distressed businesses, impacting jobs and local economies. Understanding the judicial aspect of bankruptcy is essential for grasping how national financial crises are managed and resolved. 5. Intersection of bankruptcy and economic policy. Another crucial point often overlooked is the intersection of bankruptcy laws and broader economic policy. Bankruptcy is not just a legal issue, it is deeply intertwined with economic health and stability. For instance, the amendments to the Bankruptcy Code, such as those introduced in the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act of 2005, reflect the evolving economic landscape and the need for reform. Policy decisions regarding bankruptcy can influence consumer behavior, lending practices, and even the stability of financial institutions. Recognizing this connection is vital for lawmakers and economists alike, as it informs how they approach financial crises and the legal frameworks they establish to manage them. 6. The psychological impact of bankruptcy. The psychological ramifications of bankruptcy are frequently overlooked but are significant in the context of national bankruptcy. The stigma associated with bankruptcy can deter individuals and businesses from seeking relief, leading to prolonged financial distress. Understanding this psychological barrier is crucial for developing effective outreach and education strategies. Encouraging a cultural shift that normalizes seeking bankruptcy protection as a viable option can lead to more individuals and businesses taking advantage of the protections offered, ultimately contributing to quicker recoveries and healthier economies. 7. Cross-border implications of bankruptcy. The report briefly touches on Chapter 15, which deals with cross-border insolvency issues. In an increasingly globalized economy, the implications of bankruptcy extend beyond national borders. The ability to manage insolvency cases that involve international parties is critical for multinational corporations and can significantly impact global financial stability. Overlooking the importance of cross-border bankruptcy proceedings can lead to inadequate responses to financial crises that impact multiple countries and economies. Conclusion. In summary, the report on solutions to national bankruptcy reveals several significant aspects that are often overlooked. The concepts of providing a fresh start, the specificity of bankruptcy chapters, the importance of legal frameworks, and the roles of judges and trustees are critical for understanding and managing national financial crises. Additionally, the intersection of bankruptcy with economic policy, the psychological impact of bankruptcy, and cross-border implications further underscore the complexity of the issue. Recognizing these elements can lead to more effective strategies for addressing national bankruptcy and fostering economic resilience. 1. Legal framework of bankruptcy. Understanding the legal structure governing bankruptcy is crucial. The U.S. Bankruptcy Code, codified as Title 11 of the U.S. Code, serves as the foundation for all bankruptcy proceedings. It outlines various chapters, including chapters 7, 11, 13, 9, 12, and 15, each tailored to specific types of debtors and scenarios. This legal framework not only streamlines the bankruptcy process but also sets the parameters for creditor-debtor interactions, with the overarching goal of giving debtors a fresh start while balancing the rights of creditors. 2. Types of bankruptcy. Each chapter of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code addresses different situations and types of debtors, which is essential for tailored solutions to national bankruptcy. Chapter 7 focuses on liquidation, where non-exempt assets are sold to pay creditors. Chapter 11 is designed for reorganization, allowing businesses to continue operating while restructuring debts. Chapter 13 offers a repayment plan for individuals with regular income, enabling them to keep valuable assets while repaying debts over time. Chapter 9 allows municipalities to reorganize debts, which is particularly relevant for states or cities facing financial crises. 3. Bankruptcy discharge and protection mechanisms. The bankruptcy discharge is a vital component of the process, as it absolves debtors from personal liability for certain debts, effectively preventing creditors from pursuing them post-discharge. This protective mechanism is designed to encourage individuals and businesses to seek bankruptcy relief without fear of perpetual debt, thereby fostering a quicker recovery and re-entry into the economic system. Additionally, the automatic stay halts all collections against the debtor upon filing, providing immediate relief from financial pressure. 4. Reorganization as a solution to national financial crises. The potential for reorganization, particularly through Chapter 11 and Chapter 9, highlights a strategic solution to national bankruptcy scenarios. By allowing entities to restructure their debts while remaining operational, these provisions can mitigate the broader economic impacts of bankruptcy. Reorganization facilitates not just the survival of businesses and municipalities but also preserves jobs and fosters economic stability, demonstrating that bankruptcy can be a constructive rather than solely destructive process. In summary, an in-depth analysis of the U.S. bankruptcy framework reveals that a comprehensive understanding of the legal structure, types of bankruptcy, protective mechanisms such as discharges, and the potential for reorganization provides valuable insights into tackling national bankruptcy challenges. Here are 3 famous historical cases of national bankruptcy that illustrate different approaches to resolving such financial crises. 1. Argentina's sovereign debt crisis, 2001-2002. In late 2001, Argentina declared the largest sovereign default in history, unable to meet its debt obligations amounting to approximately $95 billion. The crisis was driven by a combination of factors, including a prolonged recession, high public debt, and a fixed exchange rate that made exports less competitive. The government implemented drastic austerity measures, leading to widespread social unrest and protests. In 2002, Argentina abandoned its currency pegged to the US dollar, which allowed it to devalue the peso, boosting exports but also causing inflation. The country restructured its debt in 2005 and again in 2010, offering creditors new bonds with lower values. However, legal battles continued with holdout creditors, highlighting the complexities of sovereign debt restructuring and the challenges of negotiating with multiple stakeholders. 2. Greece's debt crisis, 2010-present. Greece's financial turmoil began in 2009 when it revealed that its budget deficit was much larger than previously reported. This caused a loss of confidence among investors, leading to soaring borrowing costs. In 2010, Greece received a €110 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the European Union (EU) to prevent default. As part of the bailout conditions, Greece had to implement severe austerity measures, including tax increases and spending cuts, which led to significant public protests and social unrest. In 2012, Greece undertook a significant debt restructuring known as the Private Sector Involvement (PSI), which resulted in a write-down of about €100 billion of debt held by private investors. Despite these efforts, Greece remained under strict economic oversight and faced ongoing challenges. Demonstrating the complexities of navigating national bankruptcy within a broader economic and political framework. 3. The United States bankruptcy during the Great Depression 1933. In 1933, as the Great Depression ravaged the global economy, the United States faced severe financial instability. Although the U.S. government itself did not officially declare bankruptcy, it did effectively suspend the gold standard, which meant that the dollar was no longer convertible into gold. This move was part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's broader New Deal strategy to stimulate the economy and restore public confidence. The Emergency Banking Act of 1933 allowed the government to stabilize the banking system and reorganize banks that had failed. The U.S. government also instituted reforms to regulate the financial sector, including the establishment of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation (FDIC) to protect depositors. This period illustrates how a government can address financial crises through a combination of monetary policy, regulatory reforms, and direct intervention rather than traditional bankruptcy procedures. These historical cases underscore the diversity of approaches to national bankruptcy and the various economic, political, and social factors that influence the outcomes of such crises. Future outlook: solutions to national bankruptcy. As we look toward the future of managing national bankruptcy, it is essential to recognize that the global economic landscape is continuously evolving. The solutions to national bankruptcy will likely need to adapt to changes in financial systems, international relations, and economic policies. Here are several predictions and potential solutions for addressing national bankruptcy in the coming years. 1. Increased emphasis on debt restructuring. National bankruptcy solutions will likely shift towards debt restructuring rather than outright liquidation. This approach minimizes disruptions to public services and economic stability. Countries may increasingly adopt frameworks similar to Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the U.S., which allows for the reorganization of debts while maintaining operations. Governments will focus on negotiating better terms with creditors, extending repayment periods, and reducing interest rates. 2. International cooperation on debt relief. With many nations facing interconnected economic challenges, international cooperation will become crucial in addressing national bankruptcy. We may see the establishment of global financial frameworks or consortiums to facilitate debt relief for struggling nations. Initiatives akin to the G20 Debt Suspension Initiative could become more common, allowing for collective action to suspend or reduce debt obligations for low-income countries facing crisis situations. 3. Innovative financial instruments. Future solutions may include the development of new financial instruments specifically designed for sovereign debt. For instance, countries might issue growth bonds that offer investors returns linked to the economic performance of the nation. This model would align the interests of investors with the nation's economic recovery, providing a more sustainable path to financial stability. 4. Strengthening bankruptcy frameworks. Nations will likely enhance their legal frameworks for managing bankruptcy. This includes creating more comprehensive bankruptcy codes that allow for faster and more efficient processes akin to the U.S. system. These frameworks will provide better protections for creditors and debtors, ensuring that the interests of both parties are addressed during insolvency proceedings. 5. Focus on sustainable development. Future solutions to national bankruptcy will increasingly consider sustainable development. Countries facing bankruptcy may prioritize investments in green technologies and sustainable practices as part of their recovery plans. This approach not only addresses immediate financial concerns but also positions nations for long-term economic viability in a world increasingly focused on sustainability. 6. Technological integration in bankruptcy processes. Advancements in technology will likely streamline bankruptcy processes. Blockchain technology can provide transparent and secure methods for managing debts and obligations, while artificial intelligence may assist in analyzing and restructuring debt. These innovations can help reduce administrative burdens and improve the efficiency of bankruptcy proceedings. 7. Public engagement and awareness. As national bankruptcy becomes more common, public engagement and education will play a critical role. Governments will likely invest in campaigns to raise awareness about the implications of national bankruptcy and the available solutions. Educating citizens about financial literacy and the importance of sustainable economic practices will cultivate a more informed populace that can contribute to economic recovery efforts. 8. Regional economic collaborations. Countries may increasingly form regional alliances to address financial crises collaboratively. These partnerships could result in shared resources, joint debt restructuring efforts, and coordinated policy responses to economic challenges. By working together, nations can stabilize their economies and enhance resilience against future financial crises. 9. Focus on social safety nets. In the face of national bankruptcy, there will be a heightened focus on protecting vulnerable populations. Future solutions will likely prioritize the establishment of robust social safety nets that provide essential services, healthcare, and support to citizens during economic downturns. This approach not only mitigates the social impacts of bankruptcy but also fosters public support for necessary reforms. 10. Innovative tax policies. To address revenue shortfalls during times of national bankruptcy, innovative tax policies may be implemented. This could include temporary tax increases on higher income brackets, wealth taxes, or new taxes on digital services and technologies. Such measures can help generate revenue for governments while ensuring that the burden is equitably distributed. Conclusion. The future of solutions to national bankruptcy will encompass a multifaceted approach focusing on restructuring, international cooperation, innovative financial instruments, and sustainable development. As nations grapple with economic challenges, the need for effective bankruptcy frameworks, technological integration, and strong social safety nets will become increasingly apparent. By embracing these strategies, countries can navigate the complexities of national bankruptcy and work towards sustainable economic recovery and growth.